Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I'm your host for today, Michelle Dusberg. You guys always catch me in the middle of laughing and carrying on because we have green room shenanigans before we start and go live. But thank you everybody that's been checking us out for the past 3 years. It's been 3 years. I'm super excited about that. Wow. So thank you guys for all the listeners. We got some new listeners today because I was out in them streets yesterday and I met some new people. I had an event yesterday at Buteco, and I'll talk about that more towards the end of the show. But thank you, everybody that's checking us out. Let me just give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. It's all about creatively collaborating and connecting as we raise awareness about issues that impact us as women. And we do it through community service. We do it through this platform, the media, as we have this conversation. We do it through public speaking and mentoring. Today is a serious conversation. I always come and I try to greet people with a smile, and I'm always laughing and jovial, but sometimes we have some topics on there that are really, really serious. And so we try to set the mood before we come into the deep conversation. Today is no different. Today we're talking about fighting addictions. Yeah, someone reached out to me and asked me to do this topic, and it's part of one of the questions that I'm going to ask the ladies as we get into it. But she really wanted to be a part of this show, but was suggested that she wasn't quite ready yet to do it. So even though sometimes we think we are ahead of our addiction or we're doing better, sometimes we're not quite there yet. And we're going to talk more about that. But enough about me. No, we're not doing that. I have some wonderful people here. This one over here that keeps smiling, this Nathalie Ellis. This is her third time back on the show, so she knows what it is. Hi, Nathalie.
Hi, Michelle. How are you? Thank you for having me again and again.
Welcome back. Yes, I like Nathalie because we just have a really good time when we're together. I don't know if we're going to have a good time today based on the topic, but we'll see. Now, the person to my right, this is her first time.
This is my first time doing anything on the television or internet.
It's okay.
Hi,
we don't bite. This is Cherice Pinkston. Hi, Cherice.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
Thank you.
Welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. So like I said, the topic is fighting addictions, and I brought two women that I thought were subject matter experts about the topic. Nathalie may defect a little bit more to Cherice on it, but I respect both of their opinions and their backgrounds. So with that, for the new people that are listening, Nathalie, please share with the people a little bit about your background.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Nathalie Ellis. I am a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Georgia. I've been licensed for almost 20 years and have been providing therapy for 20 years now. I work with children as well as adults and couples and families. And currently I have a private practice, which I've had since 2012, called Esteem Counseling and Consulting Services. And my practice is just that, is to empower self through enrichment, education, and motivation utilizing mental health. And again, it's so important that we take care of our mental health. So that's a lot of what I talk about and what I practice with my clients. And this is such a great topic because addiction is such a big thing in our society. So this is great. Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Cherice, tell the people a little bit about yourself. I'm going to bring this in for you. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Cherice Pinkston. I'm an associate professional counselor under the supervision of Nathalie. I have been working in addiction since 2014.
Okay.
I've worked in many types of settings. I've worked in residential treatment facilities, outpatient. I've worked in the forensic population, so with the prisons and parole and probation offices and things like that. Right now, I'm working in community mental health and working with the court services there. I was in the military for 6 years, so I've experienced a lot on both sides of mental health and substance abuse.
What division or branch of the military?
The Air Force.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Cherice, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
What are some of the signs, before I jump into that? We have different types of addictions.
Yeah.
Which let's talk about a few of them. So there is alcohol, then there's substance, then there's prescription.
Yes.
Help me.
So, all of it is substance abuse, right? So it all falls under that umbrella.
Okay.
And then depending on what the individual, their drug of choice is what we call it, that's what the disorder is.
Okay.
treated,
Okay.
right? So it's alcohol use disorder,
Okay.
stimulant use disorder, opioid use disorder.
Okay.
And so the stimulants are the ones that kind of called uppers. So cocaine, methamphetamine, amphetamine, so like Adderall pills and things like that. And then you have the downers. Alcohol is a downer, but it's separate. And then you have other pills like Valium and Xanax, and you also have the opiates. So you have the pain pills, prescriptions, and heroin. And there's a whole other realm of synthetics that are out there now that are really dangerous because they're not showing up on drug screens and people are making them and putting all kinds of things in them. So that's part of why there's been this epidemic of, hey, we have to do something about it because you have no idea what's going on out there.
Right. I heard you mention heroin. Is that an upper or a downer or what?
It's an opioid.
It's an opioid.
Yes.
Is cocaine the same thing?
Nope. Cocaine is an upper, so cocaine is a stimulant. So a lot of times we have those polysubstance users who are using cocaine and opioids and alcohol, and so it's just get really, really dangerous, especially with alcohol and other downers because the withdrawal symptoms are life-threatening.
Really?
Yeah.
How so? Like, give me a symptom.
Let's see. Severe vomiting is one thing, sweating. People have hallucinations a lot of times when they are withdrawing. Just really, really, it's like flu-like symptoms.
Yes.
But the reason why alcohol and other downers are more severe is because it also impacts their respiratory systems, and they can go to sleep and not wake up because they've stopped breathing.
Okay. Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
So that was that was a few signs for cocaine. So how can we tell that somebody might be struggling with some type of an addiction? Can the normal eye tell, or is really just people that are trained to kind of pick that up?
With anything, we have to first identify that there's a problem.
Okay.
And so a lot of times people call themselves functioning addicts.
Yes.
But that's not necessarily a real thing.
It's not.
Because there's other realms of our lives that are damaged that we aren't, aware of.
Okay.
So problematic and uncontrolled drinking or using more than intended. A lot of people say, especially like with cocaine or other uppers, oh, I just need a little bit to be able to take care of the kids or to work or whatever.
Or just to function.
Right. And the way our bodies are made, we don't need those things to be able to function. There's other ways to be able to function without putting some kind of substance or foreign substance into our bodies, especially the illicit ones. People continue to use despite negative consequences. So if they have lost their children or lost jobs or have gotten in legal trouble and they continue to use, those are other signs that an addiction problem might be there. People with addictive personalities. So when there's like comorbid depression and anxiety and people use substances to kind of fill those voids, those things are problematic as well.
Now, she said some buzzwords that leads right down to your street, Natalie.
So with that too, in terms of signs too, because some of that impacts mental health in terms of mood, behaviors and things like that. So definitely being aware of if a person's their level of irritability, if there's been a change in their personality, change in their behavior. So there's a lot of different things we can pay attention to if we are, again, aware of the people around us.
So Cherice said a couple of things, like I said, some buzzwords like depression. That's what you kind of deal with right now. With people that come and see you, they're fighting some type of depression or they're in a depression state. Do you find that some of your clients are using in some kind of capacity? I hate to say using, that sounds so generic, but just they're using some type of...
Yeah, there's such a thing called co-occurring disorders, whereas there's the mental health piece like the depression, but then there's also the substance abuse as well. So oftentimes when people are struggling with their depression or their mood or their anxiety, they just want to feel better. And so I do have a lot of clients who have social anxiety, and what do? Before they go out, they take a drink, and then that has become a pattern, a habit, and then an addiction.
Wow. Okay.
And so then that becomes a co-occurring. So there's already that anxiety there or that depression there, and on top of that, now we have the substance abuse as well. So yes, a few of my clients do struggle with both as a way of coping with their depression. They also now use as a result of that. Yeah.
Wow. And you're able to counsel, or do you kind of recommend someone like Cherice to kind of?
Yes, and
So it's a
so
partnership
part of
here?
the things we have to do too is it's hard to counsel someone if they are actively using. Right? Because again, they're not in their best state of mind.
Okay.
Right? And so if they're actively using, we do recommend they go treatment for substance abuse first.
Okay.
And so which is what a lot of what Cherice does before
Okay.
they then start into all this other stuff.
Oh, the counseling,
All
the
the counseling
aftermath,
stuff,
and
right.
try to function without
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because if they're high or if they're drunk or if they're in another state, again, all this processing, they're not getting it. It's not sticking.
Yes.
Right.
So help me understand a little bit of the counseling without, for the sake of people's privacy or things like that. But we just want to kind of get an insight of how this would work. So, let's use me an example, right? And I'm clean. I don't have any. I do have an addiction. I work too much.
Oh, well, that is.
I'm a functioning addict in that regard, but
Addictive
outside
behavior.
of that, addictive behavior. Stop. I need to go talk to Nathalie about that. Stop. So yes, I have addictive behavior. So, but use me for an example. So let's say that I have a drinking problem, but I don't feel that I do. To Nathalie's point, I get up every day and maybe I have something to drink to start the day. Then I come home and man, what a day. Then I have a drink to end the day. Is that really an addict, or is that just a person that likes to have something to drink? What do we think?
So, my standpoint, because this is literally the profile of client that I have.
Okay.
So, I'm trained in a technique called motivational enhancement therapy.
Okay.
And it basically is just that we play on your motivations. So we make pros and cons lists. Okay, what are you getting out of drinking in the morning, and what's not working so well? And we roll with the ambivalence to change, because you wake up in the morning to drink, that you're getting some kind of benefit from that.
Okay.
So to stop that, you are going to lose something. You're going to sacrifice something. So in therapy with me, we talk about those things. We talk about, okay, what is that going to look like for you when if you decide to stop?
Okay.
And then we talk about how we move down in what we call the stages of change, where we don't think we have a problem, then okay, maybe we do, all right, now we do,
Okay.
and then we do something about it, and then we sustain. Now, in those stages of change, we can go, it's not linear, right?
Okay.
It goes back and forth.
Right.
But yeah, in therapy with me, I teach them how to build skills and confidence to be able to make the plan. So if the plan is to only drink at night, okay, so what do we need to do in the morning to be able to get through to the day so that you can drink at
Okay.
night? And if that's your goal, if your goal is total abstinence, then how can we build your confidence and your skills? And we go to Miss Nathalie as well to kind of help and integrate that, because especially if the individual has co-occurring disorders, treating one without the other is not as effective as a dual treatment.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I'm gonna be devil's advocate. Right. I'm gonna be devil's
But
advocate.
before you do
Go ahead.
that, so if the client comes to me first with that scenario, that is like Cherice mentioned, if it's something that they're needing in order to function, if they feel they need to have that drink of alcohol just to get through the day, then that is something to question.
Okay.
And so then we do need to look into substance abuse counseling for that, because if that's something you're feeling, you can't go throughout the day without the need of that, right? Because that's driving the motivation as well. So yes, we would then refer.
And I think that's key. That's going to dim down my devil advocacy, because some people that drink feel that they don't need it, right? They just do it because they like it. They just like the way it tastes. Some of it might be tradition. Some of it might be, I don't want to say superstition, but maybe a practice to just say, you know what, I'm going to have this, whatever this is, to start the day off. I'm good, and then I come home and I do something else. When I come home, I have another drink. In their mind, they're feeling like they're not an addict. They feel like they're fine because they're not giving up anything in lieu of doing this, right? They're not. They're just like, I'm doing this, I'm good. But it's not necessarily when I take this drink, I deplete in some other area of my life. They feel that they're okay. They're actually going through the day, not a problem. They're not really dealing with depression. They just like they like the taste of it. Maybe it's a wine, maybe it's a bourbon, maybe it's a cognac. I don't know. Some people may take a tequila shot. Don't know. Then you come home at night, same thing. So I think for some people that might be listening, this might be a very thin line in trying to identify whether or not they're an addict or not. And I'm picking on drinking because that's easily identifiable, and I can give some examples in that regard, because that can be gray, right? Because a lot of people can drink. They don't have DUIs. They're not doing, they're not living a very complicated life, if you will. They just like to have, like some people like to have cake and ice cream. Shouldn't have it all the time. You know what I mean? But we're doing it every day. So I think it's a very thin line. There are some addictions though that and I'm going to stay with the drinking just a little bit more. Is it that when we become an addict, is it that our eyes are red? Do we get slow in speech? Are there some other like visible indicators that we can see in a person?
I'm going to have Cherice answer that, but before I do too, is even in the person who might not see there's a problem, but then we have to also look at relationships. If it's creating a problem in relationships, then there is a problem. You might not see it's a problem, right? And so then we would ask that additional question. Well, tell me about the people around you. Do you have friends? Are there friends? Or are you in? Or do you isolate, right? So when you're by yourself and alone, there may not be an issue, but then somebody who is alone and isolates, there is an issue with that, right? Yeah. How is it impacting your relationships at work, your relationships with your friends, with family? And so when you start having those type of conversations, other things come out, right? In terms of what their mood or how they're relating to others, and then it's like, well, do you think this issue with this person? Maybe that be due to the drinking,
right?
And if yes, okay, then we got to figure out what to do about that. And if not, no, then we got to question that. But that would be the additional questions in terms of you yourself may not see a problem, but then now, how are you in relation to the rest of the world, in relation to everybody else in your life, right?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Cherice, give me some signs, some other signs. I was saying just before Nathalie asked her questions or provided some input. Is it redness of eyes? Is it slur of speech? Just give me some indicators when we think, and it could be on any type of substance abuse but what are some indicators that we might need to come see you or may need some help?
So everyone is different. The biggest things that I notice are the isolation of people. Irritability is a really big thing with alcohol use and with stimulants, the uppers and the downers as well, when individuals are not using those. A lot of times, especially with opioids, individuals will be going through active withdrawal, so they'll be sweating profusely, vomiting, the shakes, restless leg is another thing. Tremors, tremors so bad that like holding this cup of water, the water would spill out.
Wow.
Jaundice of the body because the liver doesn't work anymore. Smell as well because other functionings are depleted because, again, our bodies are ingesting this foreign substance, whether it's alcohol or prescription pills. And especially with prescription pills, the smell is bad too because it causes constipation in the body. So, yes, and that's why the withdrawal symptoms are diarrhea because your body is now... that's kind of graphic. Sorry,
it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Time.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of physical symptoms. People's teeth, depending on the drug.
Yes, and uppers as well. Individuals tend to pick at their faces, so it looks like acne, but they actually are picking at themselves, losing weight or gaining a lot of weight, especially with alcohol because of the carbohydrates and the sugar in alcohol lots of times. So again, I haven't met everyone who has substance issues, but those are just some of the things that I've seen.
Wow, that's a lot of different stuff. In your opinion, Cherice and Nathalie, you can chime in too because you get them from mental health, depression, that type of thing. Is there one that is just one addiction that's just really the worst that's out here? In your experience and in your opinion, is there one that's worse than? than all of them?
Well, medically, any individual that is drinking, using benzodiazepines, which is the downers, or opioids, medically, I am concerned for them the most.
Okay.
With methamphetamine, there's not really a withdrawal medical withdrawal concern.
Okay.
There is a withdrawal concern because they are using the substance for dependency, but not necessarily a medical concern.
Okay.
So I'll have an individual that come in like, oh, I need to go to detox from methamphetamine, and it's like, no, you need to take a nap, and then we'll talk about it in the morning. No, it really is, because it's a upper, right?
Yeah.
So they're always up, and
Okay.
they stop, so they feel tired now, and it's like, no, you just need to take a nap, and then we'll start processing some of those things.
Wow.
But with the alcohol and the other downers, the respiratory and the heart issues are really medically concerning. So we definitely want to get them into a facility, detox facility, get them under the supervision of a physician to help them before they can come back to see me or Nathalie to start processing through things.
Okay.
Right. But again, in some ways, all of them are equally detrimental outside of the medical piece to relationships, because again, drugs have damaged so many relationships in terms of, the marriages and parent-child relationships. And so, and all the stuff that plays into in terms of abuse in the homes when people are using and all those things. So that's pretty detrimental in terms of all those other aspects, relationships and social aspects of drug use. High in crime rates and all those things. Yeah, so it's detrimental in a lot of different ways, but medically I could see how certain ones are even more so.
Does environment play into our addictions? Locations where we live, how we are raised, our environments play into that in most cases?
Yes, absolutely. Accessibility to certain things,
Okay.
right? So if you live in a neighborhood where there's a liquor store on every corner, that is just a part of it. And just like you were saying before, especially with alcohol, and I know we talk about alcohol the most, but we use alcohol to celebrate things.
Yeah, we do.
We use alcohol when we're sad, and
We
use
do.
it as a gift, and all these types of things.
Entitlement.
Yeah. It's kind of the thing there.
Yeah.
And then in the rural areas, it's a lot of working class people. So the stimulants are, what I've noticed, are really big in the rural areas, because again, with the manufacturing, you have all this land and no one's out here, and you're able to manufacture these large quantities and then take them back to the city. And so that's what I've noticed as far as environmental and socioeconomic things that come into it. Selling drugs, that's been like a thing that's been
Definitely.
really perpetuated. Quick money, just and then if you only seen that, then that's kind of the thing that you look forward to, is being able to have that kind of clout, if you will.
But then there's sometimes that people that have a lot of money, is that a different style of addiction because of the money? Because now they can maybe get the prescribed drugs, or is there a different level or tier of how people get down with addictions? I would think so.
I would think so too.
Okay.
I've never experienced treating anyone on that level.
I got
I've
you.
worked in community mental health
Understood.
and the indigent population mostly. But like, to be honest, about 90% of people who meet criteria for a substance use disorder don't get treatment. So it's, you can never tell
Really?
who. So that is like,
Because a lot of times when they do end up in treatments, there's some kind of court demand, and so again, going back that socioeconomic class, the person with money has
the lawyers
or has lawyers, or are able to hide their addiction a lot better than the person who doesn't. Right? And so that socioeconomic plays a part in terms of treatment, in terms of again, what gets to be seen versus what gets to be hidden. So that plays a big part. But going back to the environmental piece, another thing before that too is that genetic piece, and Cherice can chime in, because again, there's research that shows again not only that addictive gene or personality with some of that, but also your chances of using has increased when you have a parent that used. And let alone if you have two parents that use. So again, you're at high risk when you have parents or people in your family that's used. So that's something to be aware of in terms of not just your environment, but also genetically. This is not something to fool with.
Yeah.
You already got it in your.
And then the thing I've learned from Nathalie, since she's my supervisor, is those adverse childhood experiences also play a role into it. So trauma events usually can trigger substance use of some kind because of that emptiness that people feel, and usually substances or the belonging that comes with using. Individuals kind of are drawn to that to be able to be connected. So
Do we find that addictions are found more with men or with women? What have you experienced, Cherice?
I've experienced that men use a lot of different types of
Really?
substances.
Really?
Yeah. And they usually OD more and
Okay.
require hospitalization more than
Okay.
women. And that men are in treatment more. Like, I've worked in residential facilities before, and it would be like 75% men, 25% women. Even right now in my groups, I have mostly men in my substance groups, and other than women. But the cycle of addiction is a lot stronger with women, is what I've noticed, because women come into treatment and they get diagnosed, and so then they have that cycle started, right?
Okay.
So you come into treatment,
Right.
okay, I'm clean now, I went to 28 days or what have you, and then I've relapsed, and I have these cravings, and now they are more, I guess, aware of their addiction
Okay.
than men are.
Okay.
But I've noticed that men tend to are the polysubstance users, the whole gamut is what they call it. So that's what I've noticed.
Okay, Nathalie, what have you seen? I mean, on your side, is it a lot of your clients? Is it more women or men that have been fighting these addictions, and then they come and see you?
I think in a lot of what Cherice mentioned, I think for men versus women, there's, again, going back to, with men, there's the crime. There's so many other things that makes what they do more noticeable than probably for women.
Okay.
And for women, they're still functioning. They do a better job because they have children. Some of them have children, and so they just do I don't want to say a better job of dealing with their habit than maybe men do in some ways. And so, with that being said, because they're also the caretakers of their children, then they don't get into treatment as often with the men versus the men end up getting in treatment, more often. But I would say about half and half from what I've seen, though.
What's typically the breaking point for people before they come see either one of you? Is it that, they've almost lost their life, or they just figure, enough? Or does someone have to drag them in? Is it usually some form of intervention? Or how do we get to a place where we say enough is enough?
That rock bottom.
Yeah.
It's literally a rock bottom, and everybody's rock bottom is different. Some people, it is getting a D on a test, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this Adderall isn't working anymore, let me get help.
Wow, she said this Adderall is not working anymore. Wow.
I mean, yeah, and then it's, okay, I am facing 32 years in prison for my 6th DUI, so yeah, let me go into treatment.
Wow.
So it's literally different for everyone. Most of my individuals that I see now are court ordered to treatment, and they are coming to treatment in lieu of being sentenced to going to prison.
Okay.
So
That's definitely a rock bottom.
Yeah.
for some, but and then again, a lot of them have been in other treatment facilities. So there's treatment inside of prison. There's treatment outside of prison. There's residential. There's 30-day and 60-day and 90-day and 6 months. And a lot of individuals that I see have had multiple episodes of treatment before they actually, all right, this is the time I'm going to do it. So, but everyone's different. Then some people never step foot in a treatment facility, and they've been clean for 20, 25, 30 years. So it's literally that motivation piece. Like, what are you
driver?
What are you getting out of this? What do you want?
What is the driver?
Yeah.
So it's just really tapping into the driver of the motivation and
Yes.
But it does take shifting a lifestyle too,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because it is a lifestyle
Yeah.
change if you're wanting to stay clean.
If you want to stay clean.
Yeah.
How many times, sometimes with people that are surviving domestic violence, it's been said that sometimes a woman may leave that domestic violence situation maybe about 7 times. She'll leave and she'll come back. She'll leave and she'll come back about 7 times for love, maybe fear, maybe economics. She's not able to stay on her own or whatever. But it's a several amount of times that they go back and forth. Is that a similar kind of style for people that are fighting addictions? That it's repetitive cycles, like it takes a minute before they're able to really kick it, or do they find other addictions, like they may knock one down and then let me try something else? Or
yeah, and again, everyone's different, but so the statistic is about 30% of people who enter treatment and complete treatment, because again, when you're in treatment you can leave and come as you go, as you want. About 30% of people who enter treatment and complete treatment are successful for 2 to 5 years following that episode.
Okay.
And so after that 5-year mark, there's not really a lot of data to support if they have continued in that.
Okay.
So that 70% of people will relapse. According to the statistics.
Okay.
So I guess it's similar to
Yeah,
that
almost.
cycle.
But I always thought that once you're I'm doing air quotes, an addict, that you always have to keep yourself tied to some form of treatment or counseling or some group or something to help you, because it's just not that easy to
Just
kinda,
like physical ailments. So let's say you are diagnosed with diabetes and you take the medication and you get your levels, down. You have to continue to work that. You have to continue to cultivate that because you don't want your levels to go back up. You don't want to have to get back on medication. Similarly with addiction, you want to maintain that. And yes, the 12-step meetings, one of them, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon. One of the mantras that we use a lot is connection is the opposite of addiction, because as long as you are connected to something, someone, a force higher than yourself, then it's easier to be able to hold on to that recovery lifestyle. So,
Which is why it's all about a lifestyle change. That maintenance that you're speaking of, and that because you could. And the thing about this society, alcohol isn't everything.
Right.
Drugs is a part of the norm. Kids are using marijuana and all that stuff. It's just a part of the norm of the culture. And so when you're making a decision to not do this, it's a constant awareness in your mind. Oh, I could easily fall back into this addiction. And so it's becomes a lifestyle change. The people you hang around, you can't hang around the people you used to hang around. You might not be able to frequent, let's say, a bar. Someone else can, but then being around people that drink, frequent a bar, because who knows what may trigger you, right? And so that awareness is constantly there. So in some ways you're always an addict in that it may come back. Those sensations may come back. The feeling that caused you to use. I was watching a show. I forget the name of it. It's a show on CW, and this young lady, she had overdosed on drugs, and part of her issue as to why she started using is her brother is a football star and the father is a football coach, and feeling invisible in her family. And so that feeling of invisibility led her to drug use, and then that gave her attention, that gave her people started to notice her. And so then she overdosed, and she ended up in treatment and got clean. A year later, she's been clean a whole year, and this feeling of invisibility came back. She was in a situation where she felt invisible again, and in that instant, she's like, I just wanted to use. In that instant, I felt this, because in the past, when she felt this, she would use to feel better. Right. And so in this moment, she felt this invisibility, but this time she had the awareness and the knowledge to know, I felt this, and this is what I wanted to do, but I know I shouldn't, right? And so, that addiction is always there in terms of what triggered you,
right?
What's going to trigger you. And so it's important to be aware and mindful. at all times. And so the lifestyle change is really important, and having support and connections, healthy supports and connections
Healthy.
are very important. Healthy supports and connections.
And I think that's what it is for most people, or for some people. They feel like they've had a good run. Things are going very well. They've made some adjustments, and they feel that they're able to stand on their own. Like they've overcome their demons, so to speak, which is really maybe the triggers, as you've mentioned, and they feel like they're able to come out, or they're able to be in those settings or those surroundings, and the triggers are not going to impact them because they're good. They've been good for like a year, 2 years, but it's just a very vulnerable place, isn't it, Natalie?
Yeah, it is a very vulnerable, in that, life is full of everything.
Yeah.
Everything can create some type of emotional instability.
Yeah.
And so one thing I tell clients, and I truly believe this, as therapists, we provide this support for people, and it could be for a lifetime, depending on the individual. And so when client says, you know what, I'm okay now, and I'm like, great. And then I would also give them permission to know at any time you're not okay, it's okay to come back. Because tomorrow could bring so many stuff that could trigger all type of things, and it's not necessarily because something I should be able to handle this, or I'm strong, or something's wrong with me. No, it's like life brings what it brings,
It sure
and sometimes
does.
we need the support. So it's okay to know, okay, I'm good now, yes, and then when I'm not good, I get and seek the help that I need, and support that I need, and that's where we need to get, because there's a lot of stigma associated with substance use, which is why people don't go get treatment, which is why when they are in treatment, they're so resistant to treatment because of the stigma. But then when we could, again, try to take away some of the stigmas of mental health and of substance abuse, then that gives people permission to know, you know what, I do have this problem and I need help, and it's okay.
Give me some of the stigmas, Natalie. Like, what do we immediately think that they're failures, or
We think they're failures,
they're
we think they're
weak?
criminals, we think they're weak,
Yeah.
we think they're not strong-minded.
they're always depressed or whatever? We just feel like
Bad
they're
to be
losing their
around.
mind.
Right.
They're slightly crazy or a little off. Right?
All of that.
All of those kind of stigmas. So they're
There's all
not.
kinds of stuff.
Right.
When those things could be things that could happen to anyone. Again,
Right.
that's a choice to cope and deal with whatever it is they have going on. They chose to use
Right.
whatever
Right.
their way of coping is.
Right.
Somebody else may have chosen to work themselves. Somebody else
I
chose
work all the
To
time.
gamble or
Yeah,
to
gamble
do
or
something
shop.
else, to gamble,
Some shop, some
Some
eat.
people
or
eat.
sex.
Some eat.
Eat,
Sex
sex
is
There's all
another
kinds
one.
of
Another one.
ways we cope, because in that moment, whatever it is we're doing, that's what makes us feel good.
Yeah, it numbs.
numbs the
I'm
pain.
going to speak from the working addiction. It numbs. It numbs whatever you're feeling. But
It does.
in all fairness, there are triggers. There are certain things that trigger me, even though I'm not on the addictions we're talking about today.
Yes.
There are some things that I have to stay away from. Natalie and I talked about healthy relationships. I still listen to that because it helped me. I was on her couch that day. I allowed myself to be it. But I realized in that conversation that you do have to change your environment.
Yes.
And there are some triggers that even if you see a name go across your phone, it just goes, and it takes you in a place and a time that either was really, really good or really, really not good, but it doesn't help you in the current state that you're in now. So that's why sometimes there's some people that you can be friends with your ex, and sometimes you be like, no, because it just because it just takes you to a place.
Right.
And it's the triggers, and then it's a whole different thing. And so you're creating this lifestyle, like you're trying to get out of this dependency, like you feel like this addiction or whatever, the substance abuse or whatever you're using is some kind of dependency, and you're trying to get to a place that you're no longer dependent upon that. So you need to stay away from those things that make you feel like you need those addictions and those things, right? Cherice is smiling.
Yeah, those associations, they have a thing. It's called
Yeah.
people, places, and things. Those
Okay.
are the things that we break it down.
Okay.
So a lot of times, when I'm in treatment, I get the individual and I say, okay, are you willing to factory reset your phone? Because
Wow, she said factory reset the
your phone. Because
Man.
we can delete the text,
Ooh.
right? We can delete the phone,
Yes.
the text thread. We can delete
Right.
the contact.
But the number's
But
still
the number's
there.
still there. And then the iPhone, pesky little iPhone,
I
likes to
kn-
remind us of those people.
Doesn't
It does, right? So, and that's kind of where I start with that, especially when we're doing
Ooh.
relapse prevention planning.
Yes, relapse.
Relapse prevention, because while we can't, make sure that we never relapse, we can put a plan in place. So, are you ready to reset your phone? If they say no, okay, so what are we going to do instead? Because those associations of those people with those things and those places, that street you drive down every day that had your drug dealer on it, okay, so is there another route we can go?
Right.
When you can't go to McDonald's anymore because when you went to the bathroom at McDonald's, you were always shooting up heroin. So, okay, let's figure out where we're going to eat. We can go to Five Guys now, and we really talk about that, especially in the prevention standpoint, because at this point, we're trying to change our lifestyle. We're trying to do something different. So if you're not ready to do something different, then, okay, what are you willing to do?
Yeah.
Just to add to what she said, too, because the other thing, too, is for those people who are wanting to make a change, right? You want to make the change doesn't mean everybody else wants you to change.
Come on now,
right?
come on.
And so then the other piece why that relapse plan is so important, because you believe you're strong enough to make the change, but guess what? That ex who got you into alcohol is like, come drink with me.
Yeah.
You're way more fun when you're drinking.
Yeah,
So
you're
these
not
other
fun when you ain't drinking.
people are still who they are.
Yeah.
And so it's and many times we're thinking, they need to change too, but it's not up to them. We have to do the work
For ourselves.
right? For ourselves, because people are still going to be who they are, and guess what? Oftentimes, in relationships, people see us in that initial. So if they know us as the user. That's how they're always going to see us.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to relate to us.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to converse with us. And so, which is why, again, so to think, I could resist, it's great, but then you don't have to believe you could resist. We could just put things in place so that you don't even have to deal with this at all.
Yeah,
that
mapping.
concept, I teach, because we keep using the word strong, I teach smart versus strong. So
Smart
you can
versus
only
strong.
be strong for so long, like physically,
Right.
we can be strong until something heavier comes to test our strength, right?
Yes.
So, but to be smart, to be able to face that thing and to hold that weight differently, to be able to still hold it up, it's different than just our brute force of willpower.
Yeah.
It's different from having the tools in place and having the things set up for us to overcome these things as they come. Because
It's a real serious thing. I was reading a book this week about Stevie Nicks. I like Stevie Nicks. I do. Fleetwood Mac, the whole thing. And she talked about her addictions. Like they, when they first got together, was all about cocaine and tequila. Drinking and snorting. And then, their first album, they weren't doing it, of course, because they didn't have the money and the access, right? It's about accessibility. They weren't making any money at first. So after that first album went and sold millions of records, the money started flowing, and the access to different people and the drug dealers, and it was just going on. And people started to convince them that they sounded better because they were just high when they wrote music and this and that. When Stevie decided, I gotta stop this, because she had sniffed so much cocaine, her nose was about to fall off. Literally, that's what they said in the book. So she decided, okay, I gotta stop this lifestyle. And so, to both of your points, especially Nathalie's, the people around her didn't want her to change, because it was a matter of them feeling comfortable about who they were when she was around them in that state. So they didn't want her to kick it. They didn't want her to stop it. Of course, people felt their money their pockets weren't getting fat anymore because she wasn't buying, right? So when you're buying drugs for everybody, or just everybody's getting high all the time, it's a good feeling, it's a good sensation. But when you stop, then it separates who's really with you for you versus who's really with you because you provide or you're a different person. You seem more fun, you seem more free, you seem when you do it. So it's a real serious thing. It shakes out who's selfish. There's a lot of selfishness involved in it, right? Because when you're doing it for your own selfishness, because you want to feel and be a certain way. There might be some adversity, there might be something that's facing or something that's going on inside of you, and you feel like I need some extra help. And then when you are open about it with a certain population of people that may do a similar thing, then it's all good. It's all cool in the gang. But then when you decide to change that lifestyle, it's a loneliness period. Am I right about it? You're lonely. The loneliness kicks in because you can't pick up the phone and call those same people. You can't be in the same space. You might have isolated the ones that really loved you as they were telling you you had a problem and you didn't want to listen. So it's a whole reset, not only just your phone, but your whole life.
Yes,
Has
definitely.
to be reset and renewed. Let me ask about this, because unfortunately when people are suffering mentally or anything to do with their health, I feel like there's always an opportunity for people to gain money in some kind of way. Maybe pharmaceuticals. Even, I'm going to use Stevie again. Even as she tried to beat one addiction, she had a doctor feeding her prescribed medicine to help her beat the other addiction that she had. Do you find that some of your clients are having to deal with that a little bit?
Yes. So not so much now that I work in community mental health, because we don't prescribe narcotics.
Okay.
We're not allowed to.
Okay.
But in yesteryear, that used to be a thing.
Right.
And even now in detox, Ativan is prescribed to help with the detox protocol. So a lot of people will feign detox symptoms to go get Ativan. Ativan is one of the downers.
Okay.
So they will say that they're going through withdrawal for alcohol to go into a facility to get another downer. So and then there's other pharmaceutical routes. There's methadone and Suboxone for the opioid addictions, and then there's Vivitrol as well. Vivitrol is a blocker for opioids, and it curbs the cravings for alcohol.
Okay.
And it's in a pill form and an injection form. But again, those things are
Yeah.
very expensive.
Yeah.
Very, very expensive. So a lot of people don't have access to be
that.
able to do that. But like we were saying before, those people who are in higher socioeconomic spaces are able to get the injections and get the nurses to come in and give them the things for their detox and that way. So yeah, there's certain implications there.
There's a lot of things going on. Like you turn on the TV and you see prescribed medicine
Yes.
and drugs. I don't know what they're for. I have to really pay attention to what they're saying and not saying to understand, oh, is this for high blood pressure? Is this for my sex
Sexual
drive?
dysfunction.
Right.
There's a lot of that with sexual dysfunction.
Like I'm trying to figure out, and I'm like, you got it going across, and then again, too much of any one thing is like
Not good, not
right?
good, right? But to bring back to your point again, like any addiction or any behavior, if we're saying, you know what, we can no longer do this, right? And so yes, there's something else we could replace it with, and so there's do another healthier drug or this other more prescribed drug or legal drug or whatever. But again, even in eliminating all of that, now what do we replace it with? Which is what the relapse plan is all about, which is why the changing of the lifestyle becomes so important, because in lieu of this time, this is in the past, you used to drink, used to do the drugs, used to do all this. Now what are you going to do when those urges come?
Right.
What are you going to do now with this time? Yeah, we have to replace that with something, right? And so how do we replace it with the most healthiest thing that we can find?
Yeah.
You know, and so it is about now talking to clients about some of clients are figuring out who they are. You know, if you've been using drugs as a way to function for so long, now how about exercising? Let's try something like that. Have you ever tried taking a paint class? Have you ever tried going for hikes or going for walks? Have you tried something else? Because now we gotta substitute that time with something else that's appropriate and that's healthy, outside of the drugs and outside of the prescription drugs and all that stuff too. Because again, because that feeling will still come, whatever that feeling is in terms of feeling invisible, or if it's the urge, those urges may come, and then what do you do? And that's a lot of what that relapse prevention is about creating healthy and appropriate things, putting people, those things, things in places, putting things in that is appropriate, that's healthy, that's going to empower and enhance you and make you be your best versus, again, keep you in that state of drug use or substance use,
If somebody comes to one of us, somebody who's not skilled, right, and they say, I have this problem, this addiction, I'm on prescribed drugs, what can we do to help them? What is the first plan of action as someone who is not experts like yourself to do to help someone if somebody came to one of us and saying, I got this thing, yo. I just can't stop sniffing cocaine every day. What is the first thing we should do to help them?
Show empathy to the person.
Okay.
Obviously.
Okay.
You know, because again, there's a certain amount of stigma and shame that comes with admitting that you have a problem.
Yes.
Because that makes a difference. How you respond will let them know. Should I tell people or should I not? Should I go to treatment or should I not? So that empathy and validating how they're feeling is critical.
Yes, definitely. And then just depending on where you live and what resources you have, especially in the state of Georgia, each county has a community service board.
Okay.
For individuals, they're usually on a walk-in basis. They can Google whatever county they are and find the community service board and walk in and do an intake process and get treatment started that way. There are hotlines you can call. We have the Georgia Crisis Line. You can call the Georgia Crisis Line.
And with the Georgia Crisis Line, if depending on what kind of crisis you're in, they come to you.
They can come to you.
Oh, really?
They come to you and do assessment. Yeah, for mental health as well as substance abuse. Yes.
They'll come and do the assessment to see what level of care you need to be placed in, if you need to go to detox, if you need to come to a center like mine or go to a facility where Nathalie would work. They could come out to you depending on the level, what your needs are at that point. But I think the biggest thing that a lot of my clients are noticing or have reported to me is just empathy and just like, let's do this.
And there's a thin line between empathy and feeling sorry. Or coddling, or just enabling the behavior, and then it continues. So we have to be careful as to what we share and how we get them on the right road, right?
Yes,
that's important.
It starts out with good intentions, right?
Right.
Because you want to be able to help them, especially if they're going through withdrawals. You don't want to see your loved one sick. So let me give you some more money so that you won't be sick today, and then we'll get you to treatment tomorrow. Acting immediately, it's the huge thing. So calling the crisis line, there's so many things. There's the American Society for Addiction Medicine. You can Google that. And then there's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. SAMHSA.
Got a lot of stuff.
SAMHSA, yeah. And just acting immediately is the biggest thing.
Right, if they're coming to you right then seeking help, definitely acting immediately, because again, a few hours later things may change, so getting them the help right away and holding people accountable. So there is different with them being empathy and validating feelings, yet at the same time you holding them accountable for the things that they've done and for the things that they need to do and doing the work. And so oftentimes what makes that cycle that you talk about is the enabling. We tend to, because we don't want to see our loved ones, like you said, hurt or in pain or suffering, so we tend to make excuses, we tend to enable, we tend to dismiss, and when we have to hold them accountable for their behavior. And a lot of going back to behavior and symptoms regarding substance abuse is those sneaky behaviors and hiding and doing that, all those type of things, and Cherice can speak more about what all those things are. But again, when we don't hold people accountable, they'll just continue to do what they do, manipulation. But again, we have to hold them accountable. No, you need to get work. You need to go get treatment. No, this is not okay. And rather than rationalizing what they do or all those things. So we could empathize and say, hey, I could imagine that you're in pain, that you're hurting. However, you need to go get the help. It's not okay that you do this. And get the help that you need.
And setting boundaries and being consistent in your boundary.
Boundaries,
so if I told you, hey, Michelle, we are going to treatment tomorrow. If you do not come to treatment with me tomorrow, I'm going to call 911 and have someone take you to treatment or get an order. And tomorrow morning you come to me and, no, Cherice, I don't want to. That is up to me now. I have to be accountable for what I said. I said I was going to call the authorities to come get you. I need to do that. And a lot of times people feel like that's hurting you. But
that's the feeling sorry part.
That's the feeling sorry. Like,
she
said she needs to go to work. She needs to put the kids, whatever. But holding ourselves accountable for our what we said, that we're going to help our loved one, that's important too.
Yeah.
So, because that happens so.
But it's a very difficult place and space to be in because you never want to see somebody that you care about hurting in any kind of capacity, whether it's emotional or financial or definitely on an addiction. Then when you're living with someone and you're seeing them having to go through this, it's an enormous amount of strain and pain on them. Any suggestions? Let me start with you, Natalie. Anything that we can say to those people that are living with people that are trying to fight these addictions?
Ooh, that is hard. That's a tough. Yeah, that's
I
really.
Them to
Ooh,
Natalie.
that's
Family
that way
counseling.
right to Alice over here.
And then I'll say go to treatment. Make sure they go to treatment.
Because it's heavy.
It is, but it is
a real thing.
A lot of
It's a
people
real
are
thing.
living in that,
Yeah.
right? And then the one who is sober or who's functional
Right.
is the burden of everything falls on that person.
On them.
Right. And I've had clients where that's the case. The let's say the husband is not working, the mother's the one, and the wife is the one doing everything and trying to keep the peace, trying to make things And then that's the other thing too, that in terms of the secrecy and the hiding, because they don't want it to look
like you're dysfunctional. Like things
in
are
public.
going
So then
on.
they're hiding things and making everything seem okay in the family when that's not the case. So that's a lot. Definitely getting into support groups when you need
Wow.
to.
Okay.
Sometimes having those hard discussions, because again, when we talk about setting boundaries, there's some things that's not okay. If someone is not choosing to go get help and they need to, and is creating problem now for you and your children, do you have to stay in that? I don't know.
It's not for Natalie to say. She's just asking the
I'm
question.
asking the question.
Right.
Is it, so that's a question I do have people. How much are you willing to
much
do?
are you-
You
How
know,
long
because
are you
again,
willing
are
to
you
stay?
willing to do this? And because if they're not willing to do their part, that means now there's things you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, how long are you willing to do that? Interestingly, in terms of my story, I've had a situation like that, and at some point I was not willing to do it because again, people have to be held accountable for their thing. And so I made a choice to leave that situation.
That was one of the
'cause
questions.
I know I saw that, and I was debating
right.
whether or not I wanted to.
Yeah,
I share it with clients.
I wasn't
This is
gonna ask,
a
'cause I was
public
like, that's
forum. But yes, so because again, in my situation, in living in that situation, things came up missing.
Right.
Person would disappear for days at a time. My car would disappear. Things, everything may appear functional, but in the home, you see everything. My jewelry's gone. When you report to work, show up there, and then after a while, that becomes a lot to take in. And then the instability and inconsistency and the chaos and all that, because you're not sure when, what's going to happen. And I knew at some point for me, this is not something that I wanted to do long term.
Got you.
I did not want to do that long term because we're all adults, and I'm here to support you, but you have to do your part.
Yeah, I did.
And so that's something I chose to get out of that situation. So
this show brings it out. Thank you, Natalie, for sharing that. Because I was going to ask to have you, either one of you, had to deal with somebody with addiction personally.
Yeah, and with this individual, again, no one could ever tell because he would present well when he comes around. Everything looks well, but then when he's, pride with men, there's that too. With him, pride. So when he was in his state, he would disappear. Disappear, and you wouldn't know what's going on. But then when he reappears, you look fine.
Yeah, everything's well.
Right, but then you were gone somewhere, and then came out. And again, with him, in terms of his story, has his own set of traumas. Went into the military. He was a Marine, which again, the military has a lot of substance stuff going on, and I'm sure Cherice can talk about that. But a lot of the things he did was part of the military, and then again, things take over. Oftentimes we think we can control and manage, and next thing you know, you do something 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. After a while, it just becomes a pattern, a habit, and now an addiction. But yeah, so I know it was tough living in that home. Not sure what you're gonna find when you walk in the door, or what's missing, and I knew I did not want that. After all my jewelry's gone and all my.
She said, "No, I
did not want
that
anymore long term." So I made a choice to leave that.
Good for you. Congratulations on that. I want to talk about the branches, the military, though, because that's a very good point. because a lot of people go into the armed services, armed forces, and they do that, but it's just a different way of life in there.
Yes.
It's totally different. And then sometimes it's a coping mechanism when you come out of that. And sometimes it's just behavior. You're in different ports, you're doing different things in different countries. There's nothing else to do.
Nothing else.
But maybe to drink. You have access to that. You have access to other things because in other countries, certain things are legal and they're not. And they're not legal here. So you're living abroad and you're doing these things, and then you come here and you still have this part of your human nature, part of your lifestyle. Have some of your clients been in the military that are trying to fight some of these addictions?
Yeah, a lot of them, and I even have my own personal experience because I was in the military.
I was going to add. I was going to turn the table in just a minute. Yeah.
So you're right. Like my first duty station was Okinawa, Japan, and the drinking age in Japan was 20. So underage drinking was not really existent because everybody can drink. Everyone can drink, and like you said, and being on an island fever, and just
being away from home.
Being away from home and coping, and we're all 19, 20, 21 years old.
People starting to look good. They didn't look good before. But then a couple of shots, and then, they ain't looking too bad. Then it's the whole dynamic and trajectory changes. Because it's got a little help from a substance.
I can't say I came out unscathed there. I had my own ex situation from that, but and so coming home because I spent 400 days in Afghanistan. So coming home, it was celebratory, and what you did, and finally you made it home, or we lost people, and let's memorialize them. So it's the culture. That's a whole nother.
It's a whole nother thing. I'll bring you back when we talk about that, because I know some military people and they have some things that they've overcome where they can really share it, and some transparency. And just, as a parent, I used to say to my son, like, if you don't go to college, you may have to go in the military. I'm retracting that statement. Statement because it's not as ideal as the commercials lead you to think, to believe. It's very difficult for some.
The motivation again is what it is, because my motivation to go into military was to pay for school.
Understood.
And I got it. Got all my degrees without none student loan. So I did that, right? So that was my motivation. That's my lifestyle change.
Okay.
Now I have met people who went to the military to make a bunch of money so that they continue to do the negative things that they were doing before, and they have more access to things, and they usually get discharged dishonorably or other than honorably. So life will let you do exactly what you want to do.
Oh, that's heavy.
It really will.
That's heavy.
We have to live with the intention to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Our results come from what our intentions are. If I say I want to lose 20 pounds and I'm still sitting over here drinking milkshakes,
Cherice, I like that.
Man,
then
I had
do I
some
really want to
cookies
lose?
last night.
I had yesterday. So
I was like, gotta lose this weight. But sure enough, my hand went in the bag and pulled it out. Cookies are my weakness. Golly, they can't even be in the house. I digress. Go.
That's your lifestyle change.
That's my
they
lifestyle.
Can't even be in the house.
Yeah. It's gotta be so I'm gonna tell Christopher, don't put it in the buggy no more. Okay. So it's changes. You have to make changes. I want to commend you on who you are and how you maneuver through the clients and the patients and the people that you have to work with, because I can imagine it's not easy. So I'm going to ask you, what is your self-care? What do you do to detach from having to deal with people, because you have empathy and you have to hold people accountable, and it's very tough conversations and interactions that you both have to have with people, because people are coming to you with some form of an illness or some cry for help, whether it's mentally for Nathalie or with the addiction on you. So what do you do to make sure you stay Cherice?
So I stay connected to Nathalie.
Ah!
I really do. She is an awesome clinical supervisor. Yeah. So I have to get how many hours? 3,000 hours of direct service.
Okay.
And I see her for 3 hours a month, and I talk it out
Process
with
the
her.
cases.
To process the cases, talk about the things, talk about either my own countertransference
Okay,
that
okay.
comes up. Countertransference is when I can see something in the individual that triggers my own experiences. So we talk about all those things. I like to read. I like to write. I really love research and things like that. So
Yeah.
I love helping Natalie a lot there. And then most recently, I have been getting more my own connections back with my family and
Okay,
friends and
okay.
people. So that's my
So that's what helps you balance it all out.
Yes.
Because it's a lot.
and
It's
smiling.
a lot.
I smile a lot.
Yeah, she has a very
Yes,
big,
she
beautiful
does.
smile.
She
Has
does.
mine beat hands down.
That's right.
Cherice
She
is a beautiful
does.
one
She
over here.
does.
Natalie, what do you do for your self-care? Because you talk to a lot of people, and the people that come see you are in denial. They don't have a problem.
Right. And so first is recognizing that I can't work harder than the individual. So with every piece of with everything is recognizing that this work is for you. I'm here to support you. As one of my colleagues says, I'm kind of the navigator. You tell me where you want to go and I'll help you get there. And so recognizing that sometimes we do find ourselves working harder than the clients, and that could be exhausting. But again, recognizing that this work is for you. It's beneficial, and a lot of the first time I meet clients, I do tell them, that's great that you're here, and it's really good that you're here, and we could get a lot of work done. So therapy, I'm all for it. Our mental health is really, really important, and we need to take the time to care for it. And it's an ongoing process because life brings all type of stuff.
Yes.
So making sure I take care of my mental health, and part of that is protecting my peace, protecting because I see clients day in, day out. I'm very cognizant and mindful and intentional what all I watch on TV, what all I pay attention to, what else on social media, the news. I don't watch the news intentionally. If there's something I need to hear, I'll go research it in specifically.
Right.
Because there's just so many things, and everything that we experience brings an emotional response, bring thinking. We think about it, and so I'm very aware of that for myself. So I make sure that I keep myself in a place of peace and calmness, and that's intentional. And so I do yoga, I do Zumba class. I love dance. I love going to the beach. I love vacation. And daily, making sure I take time to breathe, making sure I'm paying attention to what my body's telling me, and then not ignore it. Because again, things worsen because we tend to ignore, dismiss, and just kind of put everything in a box. And then, because life is life, and if we're constantly doing that, guess what starts to happen to that box? That box gets big and big and big, and that's what it's doing. It's heavy and heavy and heavy, and like Cherice said, no matter how strong we are, and again, it's not just about being strong. No matter how, even 5 pounds of something, if I'm carrying it for 10 hours, that 5 pounds
heavy.
Starts getting heavy.
It gets
doesn't
heavy.
matter what it is. So we have to learn how to let go of certain things, how to unload. And therapy is all about that, and putting things in place. Self-care is about that. So I am all about self-care.
So good at self-care. I wish
I know she's good.
Well,
I like
epitome of
Natalie.
we're working on that.
Yes, we
Making
are.
sure we're good at self-care.
Yeah, you're gonna get there. You're on your way. There's no problem. Natalie's really good. When the person brought this topic to me, I was like, and Natalie's one of the first people I reached out to because I respect what she does and how she does it. And she was quite honest. And, it's not really my forte, but I think I have somebody in mind, and hence I have you.
Oh, hello.
So this was great, and I didn't understand the relationship until today. So thank you for coming to do this. So Cherice, how can people find you if people need like some kind of help? Listen, I got a brother; he's not doing well. We may need to check you out. How can people get a hold of you through the services that you provide?
Well, because I'm associate licensed, I don't have any independent practice.
Understood.
But again, I work at a community service board. I work in the Gwinnett, Rockdale, Newton area. So, just researching whatever county you live in to go to the community service board. But yeah, I don't practice independently, so
Understood.
I don't really.
Understood. Just in case people wanted to reach out.
Oh,
and
if you
find out,
wanted to.
have a question or anything like that.
Oh, you want to see my personal debauchery?
No.
Okay.
We're fine. We're fine on that. Natalie, how can the people find you?
Yeah, definitely. So I have, again, a private practice, Esteem Counseling and Consulting Services. I am on Instagram, on Facebook, under Esteem Counseling Services. People can reach me via email, DM me. So just put Nathalie Ellis or Esteem Counseling Services, and you'll find me.
She's wearing her shirt today.
This is my logo, so
She's
you'll
wearing
see
her shirt.
it.
She's so cute. She's. That's how I found Natalie on Instagram. I did.
She did.
I liked what she was doing. Are you still doing the conversations on Wednesday?
I am. I am still doing that.
And what is the title? What is it called?
So it's called Ask the Therapist. So I do that on Wednesdays at noon. And last week, well, before Mother's Day, I did two. I did one that Wednesday, and then I did one, I think, Thursday evening, because, again, Mother's Day is a hard time for everyone. So, again, when people have loss is a big part that lead people to substance use sometimes when they've lost someone. And Mother's Day is a rough time for a lot of individuals.
People, yeah.
And so I did that. Yes, ask the therapist. So definitely if people have questions or if there's certain topics that I want to talk about, then I would just go on Instagram Live on Wednesdays at noon and just kind of talk about that topic. So that's been going well.
So there's a couple of takeaways here. Again, we picked on alcohol just because that's just an easy pick, and that's no diss to anything or anybody. It was just an easy example for me to kind of facilitate and navigate this conversation. But any form of addiction is really something really serious, and it's really critical. And hats off to everybody who's beat their addiction, or in the process of beating it, because it's not easy. I'm sitting here making, trying to be as light about the topic as possible, but it's a really serious thing.
Yeah, it is.
There are quite a few people that are fighting or dealing with different addictions as we speak that are in our homes, and we don't even know how to embrace that, how to handle that. And every day is a challenge. Every day is an opportunity. It's a new adventure. We're not really sure what we're going to get from the person that we love or we care about. So again, today was just really to try to raise the vibration and the awareness about these addictions as being real. It's not a demonic thing. It's not you losing your mind. It's something that is going on with you, and that there are different ways to get help. And as my people said today, that you have to be willing to put in the work, and then they'll meet you where you are. So the first step is realizing that you have an addiction and not be embarrassed about it. I think that's the first thing. We want to take away that stigma, that there's nothing to be embarrassed about anything that's going on in your life, and just know that you're not the only one dealing with this, and that there are people out here that can help you get on the right track if that's really what you want to do. I believe in seasons and reasons and timing, and so things happen when it's supposed to, and your journey and your path is totally different than for somebody else. So please don't be discouraged if someone else is kicking something and you're not. It's going to happen when it's supposed to happen for you. My thing would be that if you have some form of faith or something, maybe environmental changes, or maybe believing or worshiping or practicing or meditating or doing yoga or doing something to kind of get you out of that space where you feel that you need to be dependent on whatever that thing is. So yeah, it was a lot here. We touched on a lot of different things here with my experts, and I thank you ladies both.
Definitely.
Thank you, Cherice. Thank you, Nathalie, for joining. And that's the addiction piece now. Me, right. Real Chicks Rock. Yeah, we are everywhere. Yeah, we are. So, as I said at the beginning, at the opening of this, I used to do this coffee shop thing where we network and socialize and inspire and get to know people. And when I looked at it, it was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. And I did it for 2 years. And I was like, it was starting to tap me on the shoulder like, you might want to try to do this again. Yeah. So we did it yesterday. And we did it yesterday at Buteco's Coffee Bar over in the Grant Park area. It was 1039 Grant Street. We had a wonderful day. I want to thank everybody that came out, spent some time, got to meet new people, did some networking, passed some cards around. It was really good. Thanks to my DJ for the day, Gerald Music Man Brooks. He was phenomenal. We had a great time there. And so people said, are you going to do it again? Are you going to do it again? Are you going to do it again? And the answer is, yeah, I'm going to do it again. So
Yay.
we'll be back there June 29th. Don't worry about it. I'll get a flyer. We'll put it on social media. I'll announce it at the end of these shows going forward. We'll put it on the website. If you want to get a hold of me, go to the website, realchicksrock.com. I'm everywhere. It tells you the social media platforms I'm on, where we're streaming this program, YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Go to the website to find out everything that's going on. What we got coming up is a financial management workshop in June, which is next month. That is my birthday. So for my birthday, I always want to give back to the community. Boop. So we're going to start marketing and promoting that. If you need some help in your finances, if you want to understand how do you get to this 820, this 800 credit score, you need to get your life in order. You need to recalibrate what is real estate, the pros and cons of that, what is a financial portfolio, 401, all that. You need to come to this workshop. Right. Look,
Nice.
Cherice said, yeah, because that's the empowerment piece.
That's
We
right.
empower people with the tools that they need so they can be empowered and do things differently. So come check that out. That's going to be on June 8th at the Philip Rush Center. We'll have more details. We're going to post that more in the future. Yes, me, new product. Right. New merch. I told you I was coming out with a new shirt. So I got a new.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. Real Chick. Look, the engineer stood up to look. Yes, it's Real Chicks Rock. We got a new shirt out there. We're coming up with some more tees too. This is going to be on the website. So if you want it, go get it, get at it. I was supposed to wear it yesterday, but it looked better on the mannequin than it did on me. So I let it stay on the mannequin all day. So yes, new product. Go out there. We got pop sockets. We're going to have this shirt. Got some more stuff coming on. All that stuff. Good stuff going on. Last thing, and then I'm going to be quiet because I talked a lot today. I don't really like to talk that much. Strategic partners. I'm a strategic partner because you got to have strategic partners. Yes, I love it. And I like people. I thank people that give me an opportunity to rock with them. So for those people that don't know me, I'm going to tell you, I really love music. I really do have a strong affiliation for music. And so anytime that I can align or partner with people that are doing things musically, I am excited. So this is no different. So yes, join us this Friday at Venkman's as Hot Ice Live presents a tribute to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, with none other than Jill Rock Jones as the vocalist and singer for the night. You want to be there. This weekend is Memorial Day weekend. I got a from Nathalie because that could be right up her alley.
Yeah.
This weekend is Memorial Day weekend. If you're in the city, you're in Atlanta, you're looking for something to do this Friday, you should be there. Yes, general admission is going to be $15. Doors open around 9:30, I believe, 8:30, I believe. 8:30 show might be starting at 9:30. Check it out. Venkmans.com will be there. So if you're coming through, I'll see you, Nathalie. I'll be looking for you. But that's my time.
Okay.
We had a lot of stuff going. No. Thank you. Cherice says she loves the energy. It's always like this. And this is I didn't have any drinks or anything.
Me neither.
This
Oh
is
my
just a
gosh.
natural thing. I let the sun kiss my face.
Nice.
So that's what we got. That's my time. So until next time, you guys take care and continue to rock on. Bye.
Rock on.